What is going on? Welcome everybody to Off the Top Rope, Off the Mic Sports Network. Obviously, topic of discussion on Tuesday is Goldberg. He did a very long form interview with Ariel Helwani on his show. Seemingly, whenever you go on Ariel Helwani's show, something crazy is going to happen. And Bill Goldberg did not spare any expense in voicing his displeasure in his retirement match with Gunther at Saturday night's main event on this past Saturday in Atlanta. And I've already gone on record saying I think Goldberg got done dirty by NBC, WWE, TKO for not really giving this maybe more of a build, but this is the product of the greed and the corporate nature of what WWE and TKO is. And, it's unfortunate that it happened, but Goldberg really just, 3 days after the fact going on a media blitz and basically just, voicing his displeasure with this. It wasn't it for me. But the biggest thing that I took away from this interview is I don't think that was Goldberg's last match. I do not think that was Bill Goldberg's last match in professional wrestling. He sounded like a guy who got wronged. He sounded bitter. He sounded angry. And even though he was trying his best to basically say, yeah, I like the match because he was trying to be respectful of his opponent. He was kind of walking back stuff but he really couldn't help himself taking shots at WWE. He's convinced that Triple H may have been out to get him and it might have been just a rib or something. And it's like, really? Is that what we're doing now? So I don't think that this is his last match in professional wrestling that we saw on Saturday. I think it's very possible that he's going to wrestle again. I don't know if it's going to be this year, but it's going to be somewhere. And I'm telling you what, I would not be surprised to see Bill Goldberg wrestle in AEW at some point. Hopefully it's before he's 60, and hopefully it's sooner rather than later, because I don't trust that AEW is going to, and if anybody's going to do it, it's going to be Tony Khan, the Mark. Like this guy, and Sting was very different. Sting could still go, but Tony Khan did not stop Sting from, himself. And he let him do crazy dives, let him go through tables, let him go through glass. And it got to a point where I was like, man, somebody is going to get hurt. And Bill Goldberg, even on WWE's turf, he almost paralyzed The Undertaker. So Tony Khan, I think totally, with the money that he has, in the right situation, this guy brought in Ric Flair, for God's sake. He brought in Ric Flair. So I'm not ruling this out in the slightest. I think it's a stupid idea. I didn't like that WWE brought him in the first place. But don't be surprised if Bill Goldberg is wrestling in AEW and he gets a retirement match. I don't know who it'll be against, but it'll probably get the build to a pay-per-view. I don't know if it'll main event, and that may piss off Bill Goldberg. But I could totally see a scenario where Goldberg ends up going to AEW, because he like I said, he burned just about every bridge you possibly could with WWE with that interview with Ariel Helwani. And he was just like, listen, I didn't like what happened. I didn't like what they did. And here's the thing. I'll give AEW credit for this. One thing they do is they bring in legends, and they honor what their legends want to do. Is that necessarily a good thing? No. I love Adam Copeland. I love Edge. I think Adam Copeland has kind of been somewhat a detriment to that product, because, I mean, he went out there and is doing crazy stuff. He's jumping off of a cage and going feet first, and he broke his foot. And he literally hasn't put anybody over in a match, and really has not been visibly pinned outside of his friend Christian. That's it. And I mean, I guess you could say he put over Jon Moxley, but he went into, they did this crazy street fight. That was the match where the bat went into Jon Moxley's back, which was disgusting and one of the most grotesque spots that I've seen. Then again, we saw the Texas Death Match on Saturday at All in Texas. I mean, Sting, I talked about his retirement match. That was a crazy and went way over the line, but hey, Darby Allin's going to be crazy. Young Bucks are going to be crazy. Sting's been crazy. So like I said, just looking at that interview, the first thing that I thought to myself was like, he's going to end up in AEW. I don't know when it's going to happen. And again, like I said, I would prefer it to happen relatively sooner rather than later. I think Goldberg said his contract is up in a couple weeks, so maybe there might be more information that comes out about what transpired in this whole thing. Um, but listen, I didn't like the way this was handled from either side, WWE or Goldberg. Um, and we'll end up seeing what's happened. Like, listen, you can bring in legends all you want, but my whole issue that's been the same with AEW is that they bring in legends or they bring in ex WWE people. They give them all the creative influence and say that they want, and then it doesn't help the product. It doesn't. Like Hurt Syndicate. I like those guys. What have they done for the tag division? They've done nothing. They've done nothing. Okay. Mercedes Moné. I've been very critical of her, but her creative influence and creative say in terms of who she's worked with in this women's division, considering the stature and allure that she came in with, the women's division should be in a much better spot. And I don't think they needed to do this match with Toni Storm. That being said, she put over Toni Storm, and I give her credit for that. So, the list. Chris Jericho is another example. Why is at least Chris Jericho was off television and wasn't on TV and hasn't been seen on TV in like 3-4 months, which is great, but still, I don't know why we're still relying on Chris Jericho to give him valuable television minutes. It's just, but when it comes to Goldberg, I could totally see them AEW seeing the bad publicity that WWE's getting, bring him in, give him his retirement match, give him everything that he wants, give him a proper build, give him television time, give him all the stuff that he needs, and send him off the right way. Now, is that going to be good for the overall AEW product? I don't think so. Like, if you're going to go for a short-term pop, fine. And, have him, like I saw what they did with Sting's last match. They generated a huge house in Greensboro, North Carolina, and, filled up that place, had 16,000 people with it, built the entire show around it. It was the main event. He got a proper retirement speech, even though that got cut off, by the way, on pay-per-view. So, again, and then, it's just, I don't know. I really don't know what more you could expect from Goldberg, considering, the situation that he's been in. Like I said, the guy's 58 years old, and I just don't know like what else he was expecting from, World Wrestling Entertainment. In yes, could they have potentially planted the seeds throughout the year? But it's like you're not going to have Goldberg occupy your weekly television product for weeks on end for 6 months to, build to something with Gunther. You're not going to do that for just one match. So that's my big issue there. So anyway, we'll see what happens. But at the end of the day, I think he's going to end up in AEW. So we'll see. Anyway, thanks so much for watching. I'll see you guys soon. Bye-bye.